What's up, everybody? Jake here from PS This Is Awesome, here in a little bit of a weird spot to be talking about video games. I'm out at Pymatuning State Park by the reservoir here, and I'm going for a ride on my motorcycle, and I figured it would be a cool opportunity for me to talk about my feelings on the Diablo 2 Resurrected Beta. I'm going to go ahead and get out on the road and then have a little chat with you guys about what I think on the beta. I thought this would be kind of a neat little thing that we could do that would change it up a little bit. You know, if you're not a video person or you don't care about motorcycles, you might not care about motorcycles at all, but at least you can listen to my words about Diablo 2. Maybe you'll like it, and who knows, maybe this will get you interested in riding bikes a little bit. So Fred and I are both interested in it. I've been thinking of try to find a way to be able to sort of integrate it into our podcasting, and we'll see if this works out. So go ahead and get the bike started here. Okay, the bike's powered on. Got my phone charging. Got that camera going. I got my helmet cam going, and we're gonna get out on the road here. Again, I'm at Pymatuning State Park here, which is a beautiful, beautiful park. I happen to live nearby, which means I like to come down here relatively often and just take a look at the lake, look out over the water. Here, I'll go across the dam here so you guys can see what I'm talking about, and then we'll get into Diablo 2 talk. Alright, I've got my visor up here, so pardon me if there's a little bit of wind noise. I'll close my visor once I pick up speed a little bit. It is just very, very hot on this Sunday, summery Sunday, and you know, it's a little bit warm inside the helmet when you got the visor closed and you're not moving. So as you can see, there's doing some construction down below the dam, but if you look over here to the left, you can see Pymatuning, and that is a very small portion of it. This is a big lake or reservoir, and it's busy in the summertime. Big fishing lake, big kayaking lake, big sailing lake, because you're not allowed to actually have any high-powered boats on here, which is a bummer for those guys that like jet skis and water skiing and all that stuff, but is pretty much awesome for everyone else, because people like to fish, and the people that like to lounge on pontoon boats and sail, they really don't care that much for people on jet skis. So anyway, I'm going to close my visor here. It's going to change the sound a little bit, but hopefully you'll be able to hear me a little bit better, and let's talk some about Diablo 2 Resurrected. So I pre-ordered the game, I guess it was Saturday the 14th. The open beta was from the 13th, I believe, to the 17th. Or sorry, that was the closed beta for the early access for the pre-orders. And then the open beta was, by the time this comes out, it'll probably be over, was the 20th to the 22nd or 23rd, I believe. I think it's Monday. 20th was a Friday. So I pre-ordered it, so I got in on the early access and jumped in on my PS5 because I played a lot of Diablo 2 on my PC way back when, and I wanted to try it out on consoles to see what they would do to make the console version. You know, you're always curious about how they're going to adapt the point-and-click controls of of PC to console, and I think they did a pretty good job. They only allow you to do an online session. You can't do an offline character in the demo mode or the beta, which is unfortunate because I think it would probably have performed just a smidge better, maybe a little less lag or whatever, if it was offline. And I fully intend to play the full version of the game in offline mode, but generally it performed really well. Very little lagging. If I noticed lagging occasionally, it was in the like attacks. Like you would strike an enemy and it would take a second to hit, or you know, occasionally you would get some speed up because you commanded the character to do something and they didn't quite do it on time or whatever. There's So a little bit of lagginess, but very, very little. Generally, I would say 99% of the time, it just appeared to me like it was running as an offline game, like it wasn't online. Other than that, it's very much Diablo 2, and I forgot a lot about Diablo 2 because I've been playing Diablo 3 so much since it came out. I haven't really remembered. I had maybe some rose-colored glasses on when I remembered Diablo 2. It is still very good. I still maintain that it's probably my favorite game, but there are some quality of life things that they did with Diablo 3 that I think really helped out from Diablo 2. Like, one of the things I could think of is a much larger inventory. Diablo 2 is a very old school grid style inventory, and you're constantly filling it, especially at the beginning of the game. And so you are always going back to town to replace your items or sell them or whatever, and that can be kind of tedious. The other thing was that health potions, which I don't ever recall having an issue with. Health potions are they're not scarce, but in Diablo 3, if I recall correctly, you would use a quote-unquote health potion, but there were no health potions. You didn't pick anything up. It was just a cooldown kind of effect, or a skill. So you would use a health potion, I say that in quotes again, and you would just kind of wait so long before you could use another one. But you didn't have to keep any in your inventory. You didn't have to worry about any of that. And Diablo 2 is, you've got the belt that you put the potions on, and when you use a health potion, it doesn't fill your health up right away. It like, you see, like on the orb on the left hand side, there's an opaque line that comes up, and then your health slowly comes up to meet that. You can see I took the dual sport today because I'm riding a little bit through the woods here, and it's a perfect motorcycle for that. Beautiful scenery, though. So anyway, Diablo 2 also has typical mana that you use for all of your skills, as opposed to Diablo 3, where it's like your character resource, whether it's essence or I don't remember what the hell they call all of them, and all the different, every single character class has a different name for their quote-unquote mana. And in Diablo 3, you generate it with your main attack, and then you can use it with your secondary skills and all your other attacks. In Diablo 2, your main attack is just a basic attack. It doesn't generate anything. You just have to use the mana you have available, and then if you run out, you either have to wait for it to recover on its own, or you have to use a mana potion to replenish it more quickly. Diablo 2 is very much old school RPG compared to Diablo 3. You're adjusting your character's stats. Granted, there's only 4 of them. There's strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy, I think, is the one that relates to your mana. So every time you level up, you got to take care of that. But if you're not into the more hardcore RPGs, you might not necessarily like Diablo 2 as much, assuming you've never played it. I'm making a little bit of, by explaining all this, I'm making a little bit of an assumption that you haven't played the game before. But I would generally say that it's a great game. I actually like the extra sort of effort you have to put into leveling your character. The skill trees, you can put multiple points into one skill to make it more and more powerful, and it's very old school in that regard as well. It makes the... I don't remember anything about how to do the character build, so I'm just kind of fumbling through. I would suggest, if you're interested in picking up Diablo 2 and you've never played it before, is do some research online on good builds for the type of character that you want to do. I'm doing a Paladin. I talked a little bit about this on the podcast. I'm doing a Paladin because that was the class I always liked to play whenever I was a kid. And so I decided to grab nostalgia by the horns and just go straight for the Paladin. And I've been really enjoying it. The graphics, so I should talk about the graphics. It seems like it's running in 60 frames, or at least close to it anyway. But the graphic update they did to it, the overhaul, when it first was announced and they showed the overhauled graphics, I was like, I don't know. I'll probably just play it on the original graphics mode and blah, 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 blah. Well, now that I'm playing it on the console, I realized they did an awesome job at maintaining the essence, the feel, the gothic nature, the very like dark and semi-realistic kind of look to the game. They did a really good job of bringing that back, which was a big departure in Diablo 3 as they kind of went more cartoony. So they were able to do that, and then, but also make it, 4K. I don't know if it's 4K. I'm playing it on PS5, so I assume it's 4K, or at least 1080. And then obviously widescreen as opposed to 4:3. And you can actually actively switch back and forth between the old graphics and the new graphics, and you can really get a feel for what the old ones looked like. And I'll be honest with you, I totally forgot how pixely the old system looked, and it's sprite based. It wasn't true 3D, so everything is very like when your character has it has animations for walking in, let's see, 8 directions, so north, south, east, and west, and then the diagonals. But it's not true 3D, so when you're walking in something off of one of those 8 directions, your character just kind of looks like they're sort of skidding through the environment. Whereas they kind of fixed a lot of that with the rebuild, which is very awesome. Trying to think of if there's anything else I really need to talk about. So they only allow you to play through the first 2 acts of the game, which is cool, and they don't allow all the classes. I don't believe you can play as a assassin and maybe a druid. I don't know. One of the character classes you cannot play as. Looks like I forgot to buckle my helmet, which is not good. But there's 2 character classes you can't play as, and it's the necromancer and the assassin. So the 2 classes that were introduced with the Lord of Destruction expansion to the original Diablo 2, you cannot play as those 2 classes, which is a bummer because those 2 classes are especially the necromancer is an awesome class, but you'll be able to play it whenever you get the full version of the game. So I'm optimistic about it. One of the other things that I didn't bring up that is a little bit of a disconnect for me is that, the Paladin is mainly a melee character, and so you do a lot of melee attacks, and sometimes it can be kind of hard to tell if you're hitting or not, and I don't know if some of that has to do with lag, or if some of it has to do with the fact that the game is, like I mentioned, it's very old school in its nature, so you can actually miss whenever you hit. The game actually rolls, does an internal dice roll every single time you swing based on your attack rating to see if you hit, and it'll actually pop up and say miss, miss, miss if you didn't hit the character. And I don't remember when I originally played the game missing my attacks as much, but again, that could be just me not remembering the game very well. So, but generally, I'm very happy with the it's not a reboot, it's a remaster or a reimagining of the game. And I think that they have done a fantastic job with it. So I'm excited to play more of it. I'm excited to play the, we'll say the full version of the game. I'm on the second act now, and I forgot how much of a difficulty spike there is in the second act. The second act is very, you start running into a lot of enemies that do massive amounts of elemental damage, poison specifically. I remember when I was a kid playing the game and the final boss in Act 2 does these like combination of like poison and freeze attacks, and I remember that enemy being very, very difficult to take down. And so I'm already experiencing that with encountering even like the very first quest in the second act. All the zombies basically hit you with poison when they die, and so I guess I'm gonna have to grind it out a little bit and maybe get my character leveled up some. But and you know, it helps that you have a good mercenary with you, which I do, or I didn't at first. I was still using the mercenary from Act 1, which I really liked, who was an archer, a rogue is what they technically are. And then when I went to Act 2, I got one of the sort of, like a Middle Eastern kind of desert style mercenary. They use like spears or whatever to be able to attack, and they actually their abilities more reflect that of like a paladin, so they have auras and things like that. Get some cool visuals here where I'm at. This is a pretty neat little area around Tuning. There's a lot of verticality change. So, well, if I can find a place to stop here, I will wrap up this video. Until then, I'm just gonna cruise around. You can see I just stopped in the middle of the road here because I couldn't find a good pull-off to do the sort of the conclusion to this video. But anyway, yeah, I love Diablo 2 so far. Diablo 2 Resurrected, that is. I think everybody should check it out. It's only $40. That's another reason why I decided to jump in with the pre-order as opposed to waiting for it to come out. So I believe that it's a good game. I think it's going to be fun to play when it comes out. If you're super into Diablo 3 and you jump into Diablo 2, I think that you'll like it from a heritage perspective, but I don't know that you're going to love it because they take away a lot of the quality of life features that they brought in for Diablo 3. So that's something to keep in mind, but I do think that everybody should give it a whack, especially if it gets to a point where it's on sale or whatever. So again, it looks like I forgot to take the tags off my new bags here. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. Maybe we'll do some more of these videos. I can talk a little bit about a specific video game or a topic or something like that while I ride around. Maybe I can convince Fred to get involved. We can do some communication and talk while we ride. But I think this is kind of a neat idea. So hopefully you guys like it. In the meantime, have a good one. See you later.